What it do? Yo, man. Listen. Today, we're gonna talk about Asmodai and why it's time to stop. Let's get right into it. Now, one of us, you, the person watching the video, and me, Draupnir, one of us is coping about Asmodai being good. And let me tell you, it's not you who's coping, it's me. I made multiple videos featuring Asmodai. I've made a proof of concept on Avatar of Cain, why Asmodai is usable. More recently, I made a video doing a run against Magnus Red where I was using Asmodai. I even said in my video, hey, Asmodai is usable. However, when I say these things, they're coming from a point of view that is heavily biased against Asmodai being good because I really like him. I want him to be good. So this video, I will be covering everything there is to cover about Asmodai, his abilities, his base stats, and what he's good at, what he's not good at, and his competition, to come to an objective conclusion and just leave this cope behind. With that yapping said, I've yapped enough. Let's look at his stats. So, at max rank, Asmodai has 8,600 health. He has 2,200 armor. He has 1,900 damage stat. He has 3 movement. He has 4 power melee hits. He gets a crit item. He gets a crit booster. And he gets a block item. He's a Space Marine, so his health, damage, movement, and armor stats are very ordinary. 4 hits with 1900 damage with a relatively good pierce is a benefit to have. However, he only has one trait, and that is a defensive trait. One benefit he has over other characters is that because he's a Dark Angels character, he gets to equip the Heavenfall Blade as his basic crit item. And because the Heavenfall Blade has a 40% crit chance base, he gets to have more crit than other characters, which is a benefit. Alongside characters such as Athena, he will have that little edge where he will crit. However, because of the fact that he has more crit chance, the crit damage of the Heavenfall Blade is lower to balance it out. As for his abilities, his first ability, the active ability, is called Exemplar of Hate. Select an enemy unit on the battlefield. For this round and the next, all friendly units deal 1000 damage against that enemy with melee or Overwatch attacks. If that enemy is Chaos, it gets suppressed, and Asmodai or another Dark Angels unit immediately performs a normal attack against the target, dealing 100% of its damage to a maximum of 6000 damage per hit. Now, this is a lot to cover. However, it essentially boils down to 2 bullet points. You mark an enemy, and then for 2 rounds, allied units deal plus 1000 damage per hit in melee. So Ragnar Blackmane will deal 7,000 damage or 10,000 damage, depending if it is passive procs. But the Bellator will do 6,000 damage, right? 1,000 per hit. The second bullet point is if the enemy is Chaos, either Asmodai or another Dark Angels unit that's in melee performs a melee attack. There is the Overwatch and the suppressed keywords. However, they don't really apply in guild raid scenarios because of the fact that you can't really suppress guild raid bosses, and Overwatch is not very usable against guild raid bosses as a main source of damage. Now, that leaves us with the plus 1000 damage, and either Asmodai or another Dark Angels unit doing damage in melee. If you look at all 3 Dark Angels characters, we have, or rather, all 3 remaining Dark Angels characters. We have Asmodai, we have Azrael, we have Sarquel, and we have Barquel. A lot of Uels. Now, none of these are guild raid viable, I'm sorry. Azrael is 3 hits, active and passive don't do anything. Sarquel is 1 hit, so that's just out. Barquel is a Terminator. He does do okay damage. However, he heavily gets outclassed by other characters, by quite literally everything. And you can't really guarantee who is going to attack if the enemy is Chaos, right? Because it's random. So if you have a character, it's 50-50. Realistically, you wouldn't bring any of these characters, so it will be Asmodai just attacking again. Now, his active ability pushes him to be a buffer. he buffs other characters. He doesn't have a way to do damage himself, right? Like he has 4 hits, so he's going to do plus 4,000 damage, plus 2,000 damage per hit, rounded up. It's not a lot. He lacks the quantity of hits and damage abilities to be a damage dealer, so Asmodai is pushed to be a buffer. However, he has to compete with all the other buffers in the game, and it is a vicious situation. He does give 1,000 damage, which is higher than Eldarion, where Eldarion only gives 900. However, Eldarion gives his buff to both melee and shooting. Additionally, he gives the buffs for all 6 turns. Calgar also gives the buffs for all 6 turns. Additionally, it's 1,300 for Imperial units. Athena does give significantly lower damage, where it's 400 versus the 1,000. However, once again, she gives the buff for 6 turns. Additionally, her crits do add a significant amount of damage, especially with Ragnar. Helbrecht also gives the buffs for the whole turn. His active ability does give a lot of damage for 1 turn, plus he does good damage against psychic bosses. There is very little reason to take Asmodai over High Marshal Helbrecht against psychic bosses. Now, there is the deal of Roswitha, where her buff is very similar to Asmodai in the sense that it resides in the active ability, and when you use the active ability, you get a damage buff for 2 turns. However, whereas Asmodai's damage buff is 1,000 damage per hit, Roswitha's damage buff is 20%, and the percentages are better. Additionally, against the bosses you do want to bring her, she will be doing significant amounts of damage, right? Because Magnus the Red, Magnus the Red, I'm blanking on the name. Oh my god, the Mothman. Goodness. I've been told. Draupnir says he used to play a lot of Death Guard in 9th edition, but he can't even remember Mortarian's name. What a loser. No, but yeah, it was Mortarian. You can't really use Mortarian. It's fine. Or Avatar, right? It's a demon. You can give the 20% damage buff. So Asmodai can't really be a buffer based on the fact that all other buffers are just better than him, and there's a cap on how many characters he can bring, right? So if you're bringing 3 buffers and then 2 damage dealers, well, Asmodai has to beat any one of these buffers, and he simply doesn't do that. Now, the passive ability, it is significantly simpler. It's called Feared Interrogator. It deals 1,000 damage against enemies that are suppressed, stunned, or that are adjacent to another friendly Dark Angels. So, as you know, because guild raid bosses cannot get suppressed, they cannot get stunned, he is relegated to the last part where there has to be a Dark Angels unit next to the boss for him to be able to do the plus 1,000 damage. Additionally, if the enemy is Chaos, he deals plus 2 hits. Now, plus 2 hits is nice. He goes up to 6 hits, which is cool. Plus 1,000 damage, it is currently not nice because none of the Dark Angels characters are good in guild raids. However, if the 5th Dark Angels character happens to be good, then Asmodai does get that little bit of extra damage. However, his passive, unlike his active ability, pushes him to be a damage dealer. And in that situation, despite the fact that his passive gives him 6 hits, he doesn't do anything else. The Heavenfall Blade is cute, where you get a little bit more crit chance, but remember, your crit damage is reduced because of the increased crit chance. He doesn't have any traits to give him more damage buffs, such as Karn and Ragnar, right? Karn has the kill things in melee, gain 3% damage for everything you killed. Ragnar just has a flat 20%. So, without an actually viable Dark Angels in the game, I call it Bangles, what is he supposed to be, right? Because he's not a buffer. If you take him as a damage dealer, he's not better than Ragnar. He's not better than Karn. Hell, he's not even better than Bellator, because Bellator can use his active ability, and that's even more hits. I even put Anshi here, because Anshi is a pseudo damage buffer in the sense that he lets Ragnar Blackmane use his active ability twice. And remember, the amount of buffers you want to take in relation to the damage dealers, you want to have 2 damage dealers and 3 buffers. And Asmodai is not even top 3 for any of those. So he's left in a spot where if he's in a damage dealer, if he's in a buffer, what's he even supposed to be? Now, he doesn't fit into any team, unfortunately, because the mechanical team already is well established, like 1.4 million consistently. There's no way Asmodai is going to increase that. I know, I tried. He doesn't fit into Neurotrope team. It's cute. You can use the active ability. It gives you +1 stack, but after that, it's useless. That leaves for the Ragnar team. However, he doesn't outdo anything. The bar is simply too high for Asmodai to reach. Now, he isn't a good damage dealer. What he is he's a switch. Now, what do I mean by this? I do literally mean he's a switch. All that he is good for is in Guild Wars, Tournament Arena, or Arena, is just turning off someone's Overwatch. That's all he does. And this is extremely sad because we have so many characters in the game that bypass Overwatches. The new Blood Angels character, who moves 6, who gains Infiltrate innately. Saint Celestine, who can tank Overwatches. The Imperial Guard Psyker character, who gives Infiltrate to everything else. Shadow Sun, Jane Zar, they all do what Asmodai is doing. And notably, they're all faster than Asmodai. And Asmodai is only melee. So it is an extremely sad situation for Asmodai. And for me, who, I want him to be good, I kind of misclicked. We go back to you guy. Okay. No. But it's just an unfortunate situation. And to be honest, I am going to stop coping about Asmodai. I am going to stop pushing him. He is not good. I'm sorry. Do I want him to get above? Sure. But what would it even do? How would you even buff it without making him overpowered? I don't know. Anyways, now we can finally go to the last screen. I know, Draupnir misclicked. Oh, funny. Thank you so much for watching the video. I genuinely appreciate you doing so. The referral code is in the middle of the screen. If you want to enter it, it supports the channel greatly, and I truly appreciate it. You will get 100 Blackstone shards. And, it will be nice. But if you don't, not the end of the world. I still appreciate you giving me the time of day. With that being said, thank you very much for watching the video. Have a good day, and stay safe.